Greetings to all those who happen to catch this live. This will just be a quick one. So thank you for joining. And I will get started. Please like the video on your way in. Peace, TK Digital. So real quick, it's Black History Month, and I'm just trying to introduce people to some people that they may have never heard before. So I asked people to check out the Each One Teach One community, I guess it would be page, to see Peace Mellow, to see some of the people that we have tried to introduce people to if you have not heard of them. But besides that, briefly, I just wanted to expand upon something that Brother Sinab started, or we previously started earlier, and someone that I just recently posted, and a couple other people to tie it all together so people can hopefully get a clearer picture of some of the moving parts that are going on. So briefly, the background is Brother Sinab did a presentation. We've done others on the channel regarding North Carolina in particular that he did in Wilmington, and what was going on in the South regarding a phenomenon known as Negromania that was crafted by Europeans because they were afraid of something called Negro rule. Now, this Negro rule is what they also put under something called Negro domination. What they would fear to be dominated by is the rule or governance of Black people with the gains that they were making politically in governance through the Reconstruction period. This led to, people should be familiar with Black governors and Black members of Congress and Senate and so forth, as well as local town officials throughout various towns in the South. Now, with that, after some of the gains of Reconstruction is taken back and the rise of the Ku Klux Klan and what have you, you see incidents like Wilmington, North Carolina occur. So the Black folks are faced with some options, some decisions, and what have you. And this is roughly toward the end, if you're going to find out what we're talking about, is roughly the end of the 1880s to the 1890s, going into early 1900s, right? Excuse me. Where's my little clip? I came outside with a little clip. I'm outside, by the way, this is my daily walk, but I decided to talk to the Negroes real quick. So anyway, we have that, and I asked y'all to check out Brother Sineb's recent video that he did on North Carolina on our channel as well. I asked y'all to, if you get a chance, to dig into the videos, because a lot of the things that we are saying relate to things that we have said, so people can get a maybe clearer understanding. So we have these things going on throughout the South, and we are trying to make progress, right? And so what begins to happen is looking for alternatives and options to get around the oppression that we are now facing in this new form within the South. There are ideas of exodus. This is something that is not new to Black folks, because this idea and notion of exodus, because we're never going to get a fair shot in America, has been going on since the first whiff of freedom. Do I stay or do I go? This goes all the way back to immigration projects by Paul Covey, to colonization projects that come in and led and fueled by the American Colonization Society, white folks' ideas. But Black folks still have this, and so we do see a subtle drip of migration to Africa. There are other options that come out even before Africa, where you see Black folks who have fought in War of 1812, looking to go to Trinidad as an option. And those who are interested can look up a group of people called the Americans, no A. MERIKENS or KANS, and you'll find out the people I'm talking about there. So this idea of do we stay or do we go has been articulated by Black folks historically in a number of ways. In the 1880s and 1890s, boom, here we are, which is one of the points of this that I want people to consider and to look at. Now you have a push to go out west. And I'm not going to go over the exodusters, although you could put this whole idea or ideology of Western expansion and Black opportunity under something called exodus. You don't necessarily have to be an exoduster because that was a particular situation that occurred. But the idea of leaving this exodus from this oppression is still the same, colonization. So you look at what's going on in Wilmington and places in Georgia and places throughout the South where we're making this progress, Mississippi, New Orleans in the Deep South, and what have you, across up Northeast and their issues, Midwest. And so Black folks are looking to what do we do? There are now still ideas of going to Liberia. This is fueled by the efforts of people in this case, in this era, who with the blackface, who come in the personages of people you may have heard of named Henry McNeil Turner, Reverend Henry McNeil Turner. You can look him up in his efforts to try to get people to go to Africa. At this time we're talking about. You can also look at the efforts of a man some people may have heard of named Edward Blyton. And so Edward Blyton came to America and he was trying to get people to look at Liberia as an option. So you have Turner and Blyton, two big figures in Black history you could look at to see what I'm talking about, and you can see the time periods. But as is the case in 2022, with the options still on the table, that was not the decision that the majority of Black folks in America saw as the viable option to pursue. How do I know this to be true? Because the majority of Black folks in America are still in America, one, and did not repatriate to the places that we're talking about. However, the primary base and the greatest number of Black people were in the South. And there was an immigration or migration, if you will, that was occurring, and we know it as something called the Great Migration. And people can look that up and see that the era that I'm talking about is when the numbers of the Great Migration are beginning to increase. This is the 1880s, end of 1880s, going into 1890s and what have you. Why? Because we see the taking away of gains, like I mentioned, of Black folks who were making progress throughout the South. So in comes an colonization effort. And you will see in some of the other videos where we talk about places that I may mention. But what you will see, and with your sharp investigative eye that hopefully we are encouraging people to have when they're looking at certain aspects of history so we can get a complete picture, is such, right? And that is, when you look at this colonization and migration, which then becomes things that you may say and do this like, oh snap, you will notice that these efforts are led by people who are not from the places that they are going to. And so you understand that this is a migration of those people who in particular are coming from the South, which was the most dense population of people of African descent. And they are going not only to the cities of the North, but now, my friends, I want you to understand and take a look at this colonization effort that is not really being analyzed in a way, because it is leading to not understanding how what stemmed from this colonization effort is in fact the expansion in a lot of regards and prosperity of the Black story in America. So with that little background, first thing that I'll do is go to, hold on one second. Let me get this going. Peace to all those who join in. I'm learning this from how the people are doing. I guess I should reset and tell people going on. We're looking at the Indian colonization and this Black footprints of this new nation, of an expanding and growing nation, and seeing the impact of these Black footprints. And they were led through colonization efforts. So you can see that. So there's a number of people where this is occurring. I'm just start with one. Let's just do this way so we can get a clearer picture and give a new person that I did not put up on to the community page just yet. And of course, this chick wants to come out here now and play her music when I want to talk to the Negro people. Just another day in Negro America, isn't it? But we're still going to get through this, and hopefully I can be heard. Over now, it'll be the city noise, because haters are afoot. If you'd like to support the efforts that, I thought that was somebody playing drums, that we're doing through Black History Month to try to present these things, you can like the video, as well as the CASHAPP. It's HistoryMan718. CASHAPP is HistoryMan718. If you'd like to support what we're doing and to help us keep this thing going so we can expand and, get the things we need to acquire to bring you more engaging information, entertainment, and what have you. So, start. 2, 1. Okay. So, P Mccabe. Here is one person you can look up. I did not put him on the screen, but hopefully, up on the community page where we really get this together. You gotta be kidding me right now. This is perfect, y'all, for all those who are new. Whenever I want to talk about something, they come every urban soundtrack you can imagine. Edward P. McCabe, also known as Edwin P. McCabe, was a settler. A settler, the first word is settler. Attorney and land agent. I think I should go like this, right? And land agent, right? Where am I? Who became one of the first African Americans to hold a major political office in the American Old West. I mentioned colonization and expansion of what's going on. This is the expansion of something known as Indian territory and going out west, and all the cowboys and stories that you may have heard of or seen. A Republican office holder in Kansas, McCabe became a leading figure in an effort to stimulate a Black migration. So that means these people are coming from somewhere. What I just tried to set up with our little intro and background here is to understand the concentration of Black folks was in the South. The options of what we're going on regarding this period that we're talking about are coming into play. And so Africa, although it's still an option, or, oh my God, she's playing my song too, but I gotta move. Africa, which is still an option, hopefully y'all can still hear me, with Turner and Blyton and others' efforts, is now you have a great migration by Black folks. Here, where we are again with a migration of that same group of people of African descent leaving the South into what was then the territory of Oklahoma with the hopes of creating a majority Black state. Now we see with the idea of those Black people to colonize these areas to build a Black state. Indian colonization was the first thing, 2 words I think I put in the title of this, besides BHM, if you count that, although that's an acronym, to go with this. We see a group of Black people with a concerted effort to colonize and make a state of somewhere known as now Oklahoma, but through this process, it was originally called Indian Territory. So we see a migration of people of African descent to another destination, this exodus that I speak of, with hopes of, what did I say? Of freedom, of this opportunity that would be free of the white domination that was prevalent throughout the Southern United States. I mentioned that on our channel, I asked you to go back and look at what Brother Seneb has presented recently regarding Wilmington, North Carolina. And I mentioned to you that things are going on in Georgia, in Alabama, in Tennessee, in other places in the South with the same phenomenon of white domination now to counteract what their biggest fear was, which was called Negro domination, right? So we see white domination because their fear was Negro domination. So what? In pursuit of this goal, McCabe founded. So you have colonizers of African descent going to new areas and in a new nation, because the American Old West, you're expanding things that were formerly Indian territory are now becoming states. And at the center of it are Black folks with their efforts. This is also the era people can look up something called the Homestead Act and other things like that. But we can get at McCabe founded the city of Langston, Oklahoma. So McCabe McCabe was born in Troy, New York. McCabe was born in Troy, New York. As a child, he moved from Troy to Mass and blah, 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 where he worked on Wall Street. You can read his history. So meanwhile, proposals were already being made at least by 1866. Let's get back to our timeline. And we're understanding these efforts due to the Civil War to use the land that is now Oklahoma as what? A settlement for whom? African Americans. As early as 1866, during the war, ideas of colonization were all over the place. Because what do we do? Okay, some ideas. Now the ACS and Abe Lincoln are in cahoots, and Martin Delaney's even have a conversations of Nigeria and options. Later, George Washington Williams will have an idea of Congo as an option. Look it up, George Washington Williams and his idea of us going to Congo. Yeah, all these things are going on with efforts to who? To colonize. Oh, this was another one, Lincoln, but we're not going to get into that. To colonize the Black folks of America. Looky there. Looky there. All of this going on because the options are still on the table. Do we stay or do we go? But if we stay, we want our own state. Elijah Muhammad had similar ideas, and so did many other people, Republic of New Africa and others. Are we seeing those are new ideas? No, we're seeing it's a continuum of the idea of our pursuit of freedom. Colonization now, efforts are switching to Indian territory. We see this with the establishment of Langston, Oklahomas, and other places that people would know as Negro Towns and Black Towns. there's a synergy that's going to happen because these people of the South, please go back to, I forget the name of the video that I did to show you that this was an amalgamation. This was an amalgamation of two groups or types of people of African descent who have similar but disparate histories who have now come together in these efforts by both of these sides of this story of the African and those of African descent in America has come somewhat full circle in this instance because those or that collaboration, if you will, of family, culture, history, whatever resources leads to the emergence of what people call Negro towns and Black towns in those areas. Because you have people who are enslaved by the various Indian nations who have become an amalgamated in their culture in certain ways, and you have people who were enslaved by the European and Indians from the South, who are now coming together. Why? Because the Americans freed theirs during this period, and the Indians were forced to free theirs when? A year after the Americans did, and the Indians did such in 1866. This is when they were forced to. Cherokee, I think Cherokee came maybe a year later, but Chickasaw, Mogi, what have you. So now you see two free peoples, and you see it's 1866. But now it says, in that year, U.S. Rep. William Lawrence introduced a bill creating a territory of Lincoln from that land. Okay, not to be confused with State Lincoln and the other Lincoln projects. The proposal was that all territorial officers and voters would initially be American citizens of African descent. The proposal was that all territorial officers and voters would be initially American citizens of African descent, and a territorial legislature could later choose to change eligibility. Neither bill got out of committee, but the seeds of the idea were planted. McCabe traveled to Nicodemus, Kansas, where he was an attorney and land agent. Colonization. After 2 years of resigning Nicodemus, he was appointed county clerk. This is one of the positions that the white folks were mad at because they said it was Negro domination. See how this is working? That not long established Graham County in the next fall, he was elected to full term as a county clerk. At age 32, McCabe was selected Kansas State Auditor and became the highest ranking African-American office holder outside of the Reconstruction South. And people can read further about his efforts in places that you may have heard of as Black towns, Nicodemus and Langston, okay? Where's the other ones? You know, you can go through the article and go and see, and hopefully this will open up that. So we'll see McCabe's work, okay? And we can see the story going and hopefully for you growing. Okay, so now that we have that out of the way in regards to that, we're gonna get to briefly before I close what people want to see. You don't just, I ain't gonna just show you, Wikipedias. We're gonna show, where do we start? We're gonna show, let's just read a little from, no, we don't want that one. Let's read this one maybe. We'll come back to that one. Let's see here, let's start here. This is from the Langston City Herald. Let's see, we have, in my screen, okay, let me go this way maybe. Sorry, folks, okay, J.M. Johnston, E.C. Kinney, Cherokee Colonization Company. Happy Black History Month. The CASHAPP is HistoryMan718 if you learning some things that you may have never heard before, or you want to help us continue the efforts of bringing you the most accurate information with resources about the experience of the African, and those of African descent, our own peoples in America. So you not only have the American Colonization Society and all those other colonization societies that I mentioned. So when you see a title of Indian colonization, it is not clickbait. It is for people to get a better idea and understanding of our story. So now we see Cherokee Colonization Company organized to do what? Secure homes on government lands. We have our mutual aid societies. I'm going slow for a reason. So you see the next words are a mutual cooperative society. Mutual aid society and benefit societies go all the way back to the Free African Society and the African Society for Mutual Relief and Bureau of General Information, a legitimate plan for building a city. Colonizations, we're going to build our own nation in this new expanding nation, our Black footprint. The last chance for securing homes on whose land? Government land, which was Indian territory that they took. So 1892, which is, I mentioned, the time period, March 14th, and who is doing this? E. P. Mccabe. Colonization by those from the South. Langston City, Oklahoma. Sorry for the, oh no, not that one. Where we at? Let me go back. Come on now. See, in this view, my hands can't move as fluidly. All right. So as we see, we have your letter relative to the article which appeared in the Herald some time ago. That article showed the source of our authority in making the statement we did. You say have to say this rape matter that we have got you mixed up in with the snide and irresponsible firm in Jefferson County, yada, 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 yada. So this is going on. It was $2 for you to join the Colonization Society, and you could be part of going to, that's right, these new lands that we just read of. That's right. Colonization by Black folks of African descent, as you saw, going to Indian territory to establish these things. And so we can go to, I'm gonna have to hold it this way. Hopefully you can see, because the other way is annoying. Hopefully you guys will support what we do so I can get a better phone, better presentation software. Not phone, I don't want you to pay for my phone, I get my own phone, but you know, the software and all this other jazz. Okay, so let's go through. Okay, so then what we see is we have not only Cherokee colonization, but we have the Colored Colonization Company. And where are we going? To other lands of other somewhat Indians. Where are we going? Great inducements are now offered for every man and woman of the, they say we didn't use the word, folks. Here's another Black History Month correction. Who are the people, the women, the men and women of the Afro American race? This is the 1890s, and we are calling ourselves, amongst other names, Afro American. Jesse Jackson is not thought of yet. This is the 1890s, and Black folks, this is a Black newspaper referring to themselves as Afro Americans. Jesse Jackson is not even thought of yet, and there probably was his daddy. Okay, so the Colored, there's another name we also use calling ourselves Colored, the Colored Colonization Company. There's that colonization. So when you see colonization, it's not just to Africa. The Black folks of African descent from the South were trying to colonize a number of ways I mentioned in pursuit of their freedom. I say the Colored Colonization Company, whose purpose is to colonize where? In Mexico, on the Colorado River and the Gulf of California. We're talking about the era of the gold rush as well. And this expansion out west, we see once again as far as the Pacific in California, where they intend to run boats, cars, fishing enterprises, oyster industries, gold and silver mining, farming, manufacturing, otherwise procuring the same shipping and doing a general business of all classes and kinds. All men and women are in great demand, from the highest to the lowest. Money to be obtained in great ease by supplying the markets of Mexico, Central America, and other countries. This is how they were going to make their money. An easy reach by water and railroad routes along the coast. Shares for this one were $1 each. Each share a guarantee for 1 acre of land. $1 would have got you 1 acre of land in the garden spot of America. Now's your time. Strike the iron while it is hot and secure yourself and children a fortune for the coming years. Agents wanted. For further information, write to the Colored Colonization Society. We saw a Cherokee Colonization Society, and now we have a Colored Colonization Society. I did not want to mention the ones many of may have thought with the American Colonization Society and going to Africa. No, we were going in multiple directions in pursuit of freedom. So now, what do we have here? It says, what? Immigration. Stanley the African, blah, 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 blah. He talks about Lord Stanley. Why did I want to show the people this? I forgot. But it just talks about colonization, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now, no, we don't want to go back. We want to go back this way, right? So, says here, you can't really see because I can't highlight it, but right in the middle, colored men have applied for a charter to build a railroad connecting Langston City, Oklahoma with Houston, Texas. So upon this, they are now trying to build the infrastructure because the railroad system is becoming more and more prevalent and important. So they want to make sure that these Black towns, which they were promised in many cases duped, that they were being set up further out west, would at least have access to the railroad. Why? So they could actually commute, but the products that they would build would have the opportunity to be sold. Black folks were trying to build their own infrastructure. All right, so that's what I wanted to show the people from here, right? There's probably something else I forgot. Oh, here we go. The American Colored Men's is at the top for those who wonder where I am. We put it right at the top. The American Colored Men's Mexican Colonization Company is planning to establish a colony of who? Afro-American farmers coming from, folks, listen, this will put it all together for you. I'm going to read it and start again. The American Colored Men's Mexican Colonization Company is planning to establish a colony of whom? 1890s of Afro-American whom? Farmers. Who were they? What would it say? Coming chiefly from the states of Mississippi and Tennessee. This is what I told you, the South. And the people we had the highest concentration are looking to colonize and go everywhere. So the people of Mississippi and Tennessee have afforded the opportunity to go to where? Sonora, Mexico. And it is arranged for the purchase of a tract of 100,000 acres, 100,000 acres of Negroes, about 20 miles south of Yuma, AT. That's some other territory. On the Southern Pacific Railroad, once again, that access to the railroad, at a place where the ruins of the Lerdo colony found in Mr. G. Andrade of San Francisco still remain. So there was another effort. Okay, so just on this, we got two other ones of these efforts, and we see now in particular who are the people making these sojourns in search of freedom. Okay. John Brown's method. This was another John Brown, not that John Brown. And we see the Freedmen's Association charter for the purpose. Oh, let me get you the exact name. Here we have another one as part of the Freedmen's Relief Association. We know them, but this association in particular was dealing with let me just start from the top, read the part. A project has been recently placed afoot in Topeka for the colonization of American Negroes in Brazil and other countries in the South. The idea is a concerted movement of the Negroes of the U.S. into the Latin countries, a concerted movement. Brazil. In search of freedom, it says right in the middle, he had recommended himself for the place by his work as the leader of the Exodus. This is John M. Brown, when he helped 70,000 Negroes from where? From the South into homes and employment in the North in that instance. The Freedmen's Association was chartered for the purpose of including the settling of Negroes in Brazil, but its operations were temporarily suspended for the reason that the, listen close, emancipation of Brazil's slaves did not take place as soon as was expected. Read that about McCabe. And what else do we got? This last one for the folks. This last one. Oh, we dealt with that already. And that moved there. So with that, we see the efforts of those people going to places that we've mentioned and see this expansion taking place and its colonization efforts taking place of these various locations. And so this Black History Month, I want people to realize that you start to have champions that emerge from all of this. P Mccabe being one of them, as well as I hope you check the community page. And I hope you check the community page and the amazing Buck Franklin and read his story as well. So with that said, this was cool. If you feel you learned something new, please like the video as well as the Cash App. It's History Man 718. History Man 718. I ask you to check the channel, check what Brother Snap video recently once again, so you can get an idea of the climate. And please check out all the videos that we have on what's going on in Oklahoma and Nebraska and Kansas, and these what they call state Negroes and the Southern Negroes coming together, because we have gone to the history of those freedmen, and those freedmen coming together with this group, as you can see. And then we'll see the emergence of things that will lead to things like Black Wall Streets. Then you get a more interesting idea and a dynamic of our story when you get to see that, wow, we got this culture, two cultures, two African American cultures, or two Black cultures that, like I say, are family and similar, but have come together, and wow, we created literally this whole new idea of our nation and an expression of it and a history, and hopefully go back and look at Muskogee and Redbird and Langston and all of those towns in Tulsa to see what we did, because that is a part of our story, just like what we did in the South, just like we did in the Midwest and the North, and also in California. Check the community page for San Francisco. You see efforts of Colonel Allen, and you see that it's this time for California, Allen Allensworth. People can look up Allen Allensworth and Allensworth, California, as well as who were the founders of San Francisco. And you'll find plenty of Blackface. Check the community page for one, Leesdorf, and there are others, including Black women. So we see this Indian colonization and this expression of it during Black History Month, and hopefully P Mccabe and the amazing Buck Franklin, and you can dig deeper into those stories to see how dynamic and beautiful our story is, and hopefully get some new names to continue research, as well as put some more of the pieces back together to understand this thing we call a Black experience. Yeah, it's just as simple as that. And I appreciate y'all for watching. Like I say, if you learn something new, you know, Cash App is up top, like buttons up top. And yeah.